Okay, we did a quick change on the set. Forgot to say who was going to talk first, so thank you for turning to me first. I've got Jim on the show. It's Jim Bask and Gary Batan. We're your hosts of NDI November. We're going to do the Q&A segment now. We've got some questions from the audience to talk about. But before we even get into that, Jim, I got to compliment you and the team and the video production guys. We pulled off a whole bunch of stuff that I've never seen us do before. And the greatest thing was we changed the sets after Dr. Cross came off to put on the set with the two of us. So while we were doing a production, he changed the set. So good job, guys. A great show. I think the production quality was great. I wanted to say I really love the new Flowix titling that we're bringing in from Viz. I think it's really cool. But let's get into the NDI questions if we have any.
Yeah, I really wanted to make sure we gave an opportunity for the audience to ask questions. A lot of questions came up throughout the week. Some of the shows were pre-recorded. Most of them were live. The questions that came in, though, we're not spokespeople. Trying to manage the incoming chat at the same time you're hosting someone coming into the studio is a lot more difficult than you think. I have a newfound respect for people who do this professionally. Let me just say that.
I think they do it with a much bigger team, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I do want to say I wanted to make sure we paid attention to the questions that were coming in. So if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat now. The first couple we have already is the first question. How is NDI enabling broadcast quality productions across my office? I know you and Tony spoke about this a little bit today. Let's go into the broadcast quality aspect of that in the corporate environment.
Right. Number one is remember, every laptop has a camera in it. You've got webcams that look good, but that's not broadcast quality.
No.
With NDI, I could take a PTZ camera with a fantastic Sony or Panasonic sensor on it. Or I could take a camera that is NDI enabled that's, like we use a CX350 from Panasonic, and JVC's got some production cameras. I can use that camera in my office in order to go live from my office. Now, all I need is a network jack. What else am I going to need? Well, somewhere either in my office or in another part of the company, I need someone running some kind of video mixer or production gear. It could be something like an FFM Pearl. It could be vMix or OBS or Wirecast running on a laptop, or it could be a full-blown TriCaster. But the key is that every single office has a network jack in it. So every office could have a camera in it. You can put that vMix or that TriCaster anywhere in any room that you have in your office facility. That person can be mixing the show, or he might just be bringing up graphics. Or it must just be that you can go straight out to your favorite RTMP. Maybe you're going to your corporate website. You're not going to Facebook or YouTube. But what I love about it is that not only with NDI, if I set up that PTZ camera in the room, and let's say I'm the guy in my office, I just shifted my desk and now I'm not centered. Well, with NDI, my guy who's in the other room producing the show can adjust that camera to be following me so that it's in the right spot. Or I can have auto tracking going, but more likely, let's say I come out of focus so I can pull myself into focus. And broadcast video is not just about the quality of the video signal, but to me, it's the production quality that you can produce. We've all seen Teams, we've all seen Zooms, we've done it to death.
Right.
You've seen this show too. Which one is more engaging?
Oh, absolutely. I would hope this one is the answer. But the other thing that I've noticed too, in the corporate environments, there's a lot of empty real estate right now. There are people working from home, people working on hybrid schedules. So there's a lot of corporations that are finding this office and repurposing that as a broadcast studio. So now if you want to step in and do a keynote address, you have a real environment to do it. You don't have to do it from your laptop at your desk.
It can even be a big closet. To me, if you've got a 10 by 10 space, you can turn it into an NDI studio. Now, of course, a bigger space, you can put a green screen wall up and do other stuff. But you can also just have an environment where you set it up to be a practical set, where you just have a nice bookcase with some knickknacks on it, and you're talking in front of it. The beauty is that any office that has a network jack can now become the office where you produce the video from. So it could be the conference room, it could be the CEO's office, it can also be the training center where you do your sales training.
Right.
Or if you need to take it down to the manufacturing line because you're a company that produces product, you can actually have a camera in there that's coming into the NDI feed right from the factory floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next question comes in asking about color matching different PTZ cameras from different manufacturers. I know we did the PTZ camera show.
Yep.
There's one slide in that show that shows the parade of logos and all the different manufacturers that we deal with that make these PTZ cameras. You can mix and match and choose the right camera even in the same environment, right?
Yeah. Two things are going on. Number one, the tools are getting better and better. So through NDI, I can color correct or color match or color grade any camera that I have. And now every camera we sell now has the ability to do color correction via the IP, via NDI. That's an NDI camera.
Yes.
Now I'm going to have to mix that by eye for now. But where the world's really going, we're seeing this from Panasonic and PTZ Optics, is actually the ability to color match almost like an eyedropper, where you could say, this is the color scheme I want on this camera, make the other cameras match it. That's kind of leveraging a little bit of artificial intelligence and other stuff. So for now, it's a manually assisted process, but I have no doubt in my mind a year from now, you'll just be able to say, camera A, camera B, camera C, this is the one I like the best, make them all match, and it won't matter what vendor it is, because the truth of the matter is it's not these crazy protocols anymore. Right. It's the part of NDI is it comes from standard interfaces. Some have better, more elaborate controls, but I do feel that it will become more and more automated over time.
And I think the real answer comes down to the age-old process of white balancing.
Yep.
Every single one of these cameras has a white balance capability. You can put them in the same room, the same environment. White should still be white.
Yep.
If you can get those cameras white balanced, you're already on the way to getting those cameras a lot closer in the color field.
But I'll add a challenge. So I white balance it in a room that's got fluorescent lighting, and then I go into LED lighting, or I white balance it in a room that has no windows, right, and all of a sudden I have sunlight coming in. Or it was a room with sunlight, and it was 3 in the afternoon, and now with we're really doing the show at 10 in the morning, sun's on the other side of the building, and I don't have as much light. So the need to color correct is very, very real. I talked about it on a couple of shows.
Yep.
The fact that you can do it via NDI, the tools are getting better, the tools are getting more elaborate. When we first set up the studio, I would say one of the biggest challenges we had is we would put the different cameras in from our different vendors, and getting those colors to match was really, really difficult. And if we accidentally moved the light a little bit, we could change the whole thing. Nowadays, getting all our cameras to match is real easy. And I've got a PTZ camera over here by PTZ Optics. I got a Panasonic over there. I got Bird Dog. We're using different cameras. It's a lot easier now. And NDI means one person sitting at a TriCaster, sitting at a vMix can control the whole thing.
Absolutely. And why do we have so many different cameras from different people? Because we can. You know, it really is. They're all available here to us. Gary, can I bring in an existing SDI camera into an NDI workflow instead of investing in an NDI camera?
Absolutely, Jamie. And that's a great question. The truth is, of course you can, because we sell a whole line of converters. And those converters, when we say we have an NDI encoder, that's what an NDI encoder allows you to do. It takes the output of SDI or HDMI baseband output and converts it into NDI. Some of the new encoders are so cool that they'll actually do things like the camera control and the PTZ control as well for NDI. And then we also have encoders that are also decoders, and a decoder is really cool because that means anywhere you have a network jack, you can use a decoder and plug a TV in, and that TV can become viewing your project show. It can become a multi-camera viewer, or it can become a camera that's fed something specifically to that, decoder for whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. I think that opens the door for NDI in a digital signage world.
Yep.
Using those decoders now allows me to send that same signal from the network to an overflow room, an iMag, a different office, a different classroom in the school that maybe wants to simulcast the assembly.
I love it for schools using NDI. If you're a school and you go to NDI, I talked about this in my education show a little bit, you could have televisions with decoders set up in the lunchroom. And when the kids are in the lunchroom, you could be showing things that are coming in the next week, the menu, whatever you want. Well, at the same time in the hallways, you're showing something completely different. Yep. And in the science department, you might be talking about a science competition that's coming up. And in the TVs that are where, the English department is, you might be just showing Shakespeare or something. You can mix it, you can match it, you can show whatever you want. Of course, someone's got to be controlling it, but you could set that up to be automated. Right. It doesn't mean someone's sitting in a room all day sending it, but the merger of AV conferencing, pro video, and digital signage, NDI really makes that all possible.
Absolutely.
And affordable.
And that's one of the things I enjoyed when you had Bird Dog on the show earlier this week, talking about their management tools.
Yep.
And how they're using their cloud software and Bird Dog Central to manage and route some of these different signals on the network. KillerView has a set of tools that does that as well. So we're seeing a lot more of that software interface to control and route and manage some of these signals throughout.
And Epiphan's got a control layer too. Their devices aren't all NDI, but whether they're NDI or not, you can still have that control from the cloud too. So I think we should segment a little bit. No one asked the question, but people get confused about cloud sometimes.
Yes.
And you could be in the cloud just using it to control things, doesn't mean you're actually passing the video up and through the cloud. You just mean you're like looking at the video to monitor the video. So there's different levels of cloud, and people get confused about that a lot. And I like to just say that NDI is really for it's your own like personal cloud in your facility of iPay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great way to think of it. You can move your production to the cloud, but you can use the cloud to help manage what's going on, even in a local network.
Absolutely.
So, it's not as scary as some of these cloud applications.
Or expensive, I might add. So that was a great question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next question is, this one's about the auto tracking on PTZ cameras. I love that there's a lot of questions from the PTZ camera show. With the auto tracking software, can you lock in on one person, even if there are multiple people on stage or in a crowd?
Okay.
Let's start with an easy application. If I have 2 speakers on stage, can I lock into one person?
The answer to that is yes, but there's a lot of different levels of auto tracking. So
Right.
the auto tracking on some cameras really is just going to be able to lock onto a single person there, and a second person is going to mess them up. Others can lock into where they understand the positioning of the person. Some use facial recognition. Some can even use where your body's going to kind of use an AI to predict that you're going in this direction to track. So the different levels of auto tracking are a whole separate, not NDI, but a show that I think we really have to do at one point, because we get so many questions about it. And auto tracking is something that if you've got a production where I want to auto track you, but I need you to be in the center of the camera at all times,
Yep.
that's a lot different than how a lot of the auto trackings work.
Yep.
And if you're trying to auto track 3 people together and you want to move from one to the other, yes, you can do it. But different levels of auto tracking definitely require, different levels of technology. But I'm really amazed at what's built into cameras now, like PTZ optics, Panasonic, Bird Dog, the auto tracking that comes right in the cameras now. It blows my mind on what was there, a few years ago. So the answer is absolutely yes, but you kind of want to give us a call and review kind of what those auto trackings are. Because we've got auto trackings from the very most lowest basic level up to levels that, are being used on, Hollywood sets.
Yes, and I'll also say it is a presentation tool. If you're trying to auto track a person in a crowd, like Minority Report, that's going to be a lot more difficult. It's not what these cameras are made to do.
Yet.
Yet. We might get there, and it's really just a matter of finding that right tool that fits in what you're looking to do. I know, Gary, one of the things you mentioned is how a lot of auto tracking software will wait for the talent to almost be out of frame, and then it catches up with the movement.
Right.
Where some of the more advanced programs will let you program the talent. Do you want to keep that talent centered to the lens? Do you want to keep it 2/3? Do you want to zoom in and pull out as they start to move? So this is all logic that's programmable in some of these different levels.
One of the cool things they have too is they'll predict the edge, the end point where you can walk to. So the auto tracker will know, track me up to, and I'm going to just walk like this. It'll say, even if you keep walking, it's not going to go past this point.
Right.
So it's a terrible demonstration, and I wasn't even facing the camera, so I apologize for that. But we are going to do an auto tracking show, and that's going to be a big challenge for us, because we're going to have to try to figure out where we can set up these cameras to actually do the show. So we might have to do that one from the conference room, which is going to take our whole NDI workflow to a whole other level. But you wouldn't be able to do it without knowing we got network jacks in the conference room, so we can do this all with NDI.
Absolutely. While we're waiting to see if anyone else has any other questions, now's the time to ask it. The question I had is, we're in an NDI studio today.
Yep.
Gary, can you tell us some of the equipment that we're using just to bring the show on air?
Cool. The heart of our show is the TriCaster TC1 Pro. That's what we're using. That's what the guys are switching from. We have this laptop that we use to bring the presentations via NDI. All of our cameras are coming in via NDI. We also are using a laptop that the guys have up front that they use to control, we're doing CrowdStrike, what's it called? Crowdcast to control the interfaces with that. And we'll also use the Flowix is running on another computer that's coming in via NDI. So NDI really makes this whole thing possible and scalable. That's the whole thing. If I told the guys we need 5 more cameras, now this room is 5 more cameras, in the old traditional way, I have to people running wires and all this stuff. With NDI, I just have to run a single wire. It's a Cat6 wire, so I don't have to worry that I'm running high voltage. It's got PoE over it, so I can control the cameras. It just really opens up the flexibility about where you can put a video camera, where you can put a mixer. If this room was so crowded, we could have the graphics department be doing the graphics from the room where they, edit the computer with the Adobe Premiere on it, where we edit some of the video on. So it just opens up such a wide level of flexibility. When you got back to that corporate example, if you're a corporation that's got your own in-house marketing department and you're doing your own in-house graphics, there's no excuse for you not to be producing your own videos now.
Right.
Because you look what we do. We use our videos to produce videos about the videos we sell. But if you're a company that's you're spacey sprockets and you're making these sprockets, maybe you spent $100,000 last year on videos to be produced. For half that budget, you could have your own team producing videos in your own little studio in an extra room that you have in your corporation, probably because people are hybrid or working from home.
Yep.
And you can control your content better. It becomes more authentic when it's got a live component to it, which is what we really like. But more importantly, you can scale it as you grow. So you can start small and grow, because with NDI, you can always have things be done in another room, in the next room, or you can move the whole thing to a whole other room, just plug into the network jack that's in that room.
Absolutely. It's funny because one of the old adages in terms of video marketing, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is 30,000 words a second.
That's right.
And it really is easier to sometimes get a message across when you get into the studio and cut a short video clip that explains what has to be done. So Gary, our admin is helping us out here, taking some of the questions from the Q&A, sharing them here in the chat that we're monitoring. The first one is, if a device is fully NDI compliant, like a decoder, is the latency going to be the same from one manufacturer to another?
That's a tough one. What I'm going to say is in the early days of NDI, with NDI-HX, latency was a real crapshoot.
Yep.
In the world, as we talked about with Dr. Cross, with HX3 and full NDI will have less latency than HX3, but with HX3, the latency is so minuscule that you're really not going to have problems with it. We have people in churches using it for iMac now. It's that acceptable to where it is. Now, full NDI HX3, we had Laurent did a good thing when we had him on from Netgear to watch that show, where he talked about the latencies and why you would use full NDI or the other one. But I would have to say with HX3, the latency issue has really been resolved.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you did mention Laurent with Netgear, because I think one of the important factors isn't which manufacturer decoder are you purchasing, it's how you're setting up the network to support that. Getting a good Netgear switch with those NDI settings pre-configured into their GUI, it makes it easier and it makes everything just work that much better.
Yeah, now I see someone did a question, I might be skipping ahead. Would future updates of full NDI reduce latency? Absolutely, it'll get less and less as computers get faster, as they keep tweaking it, but it's always going to have some minuscule level of latency. There's nothing we can do about it. I also saw another question where someone wanted to see what was on my cup, so I'm going to hold it up. I have a daughter in Ohio State, and my son graduated from there. I think you have
a son in Ohio State.
Ohio State, so
go Buckeyes.
H-I-O.
I haven't gotten there yet.
You'll be in the cult. Get to a football game.
Absolutely, that's what I need to do. So yeah, I think we got to all the questions today. If there are any additional questions that come up, you can contact us. You can go to the website at NDI-November.com. You can contact us through Videoguys or Broadfield. If you go to Videoguys.com, all the NDI products that we've spoken about over the last 3 weeks are available there. If you saw some of our dealers join us throughout the last couple of weeks on the show, you will also notice that we have a nationwide network of system integrators and VARs who can help you install a robust IP network and all the NDI devices, so they all work very well together. Next question that came in, Gary, when will I need to upgrade my HS3 cameras from my Gen 2 PTZ optics camera?
All right, I'm going to be honest with you. If your current cameras are working and you
alone.
love it and it's good, you never have to until they stop working. The truth of the matter is if you think, hey, I'd like a little less latency, hey, there's other features in these new cameras I'd like, I should get them. But the one thing, and I sell these things, so maybe it's a mistake to say it, but the truth of the matter is if something's working, if it's fixed and it ain't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're looking to upgrade to 4K or there's a camera that's giving you a problem, by all means upgrade to the latest camera. But if your camera's working, it's getting the job done, keep it there. And also, in a multi-camera situation...
Okay, we're probably going to go down the same path right now. I was going to say, if you're using 2 cameras now, and you think you can upgrade your production by having a 3rd camera, That's how you justify the upgrade.
Yep.
You take one of your existing 2 cameras, move them to cameras 2 and 3. You get the hot new 4K model, you make that your primary camera, and there you go. You justified that by the brush right there.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If you've got multiple cameras throughout the years, what you do is you take the camera that's the oldest, slowest, weakest camera.
Yep.
That becomes the one you use the least in the production or the easiest shot that it takes. And when you're trying to add that new really great shot that that you want, you use your better camera. And any production that has 1 camera is going to look dramatically better with 2 and 3.
Right.
When do you need 4, 5, 6, and 7? When you're producing a show and someone says, I wish I had a camera there.
Right.
And that happens as you do shows more often than not. We have a overhead camera that we haven't been using for NDI November, but it's a bird dog overhead camera that we use for some of our product demos all the time. How did we know we needed that camera? Well, one day we were doing a show and I was like, I think I was putting hard drives on a mat. I was like, I really want people to see how these compare in size.
Yep.
We said, let's put an overhead camera up there. We went with a studio box camera because we knew all we were going to do was zoom in that. But that's another camera we have in the system. So I forgot to mention that one. So
Gary, what I love is you didn't even do it intentionally, but that is a segue because that camera, the BDPF 120, is one of our giveaways for NDI November. So we are going to announce a lucky winner right now that walks away with one of those cameras that you were just talking about.
Phenomenal.
We have a bunch of other prizes to give away as well. I am going to go ahead and let you get back to your office. You must be tired after hosting Dr. Cross. And I'm going to announce some of our winners from NDI November. Gary, thank you so much for hosting a great show.
Great job. And really, thank you to the production team. You guys outdid yourself this NDI November. And it just means we're going to ask you to do that much more next year.
Love it. So, as I mentioned, we do want to announce some winners of our giveaways from NDI November. Everyone who registered on NDINovember.com is going to receive 2 prizes. A digital subscription to Video Maker Magazine, our publishing partner for all of these shows. And the unofficial guide to NDI, a book published by Paul Richards, one of our guests earlier in the series. And this book is a great resource to tell you everything you need to know about the NDI networks, NDI cameras, production systems, and more. We also have a Videoguys $50 gift card and a Netgear swag bag, because who doesn't like swag? This is going to be awarded to Peter C. from Westfield, Massachusetts, Adam E. from Lake Stevens, Washington, and Thomas C. from Chesterland, Ohio. Thomas, I don't know how close you are to Columbus, but maybe you were the guy that was asking about Gary's Ohio State Cup. Ranked number 2 in the country, by the way. Our next winner is JVC Noise Canceling Headphones. Derek P. from Central South Carolina is our winner for these Bluetooth headphones. These headphones do not have NDI, but they are wireless with Bluetooth. Our first NDI camera, HuddleCam HD Pro. This is a webcam with NDI technology. It allows you to take the conferencing that Gary and I talked about earlier and send it from your office to anywhere on the NDI network. This is going to Rob from Alpharetta, Georgia. I am not going to acknowledge the Bulldogs here. The next winner is the KiloView N6 going to John G. from Kettering, Ohio. Another winner from Ohio. For those keeping score at home, that's 2 from Ohio, only 1 from Georgia. Just saying. Our next winner for the Bird Dog P120 box camera goes to Margaret from Chicago, Illinois. And thank you to everyone for joining us for this series. All videos are available on demand right here on Crowdcast. So if you go to NDINovember.com, you can access Crowdcast from there and have access to all the videos. Thank you for joining us. And until next November, have fun with your NDI installs, products, and more.